This is a Regency 1500 wood stove, and I'm going to show you what it looks like to remove the air tubes and the baffle plate and the catalyst. That's the catalyst up there. You can see it moving when you engage and disengage the catalyst. The reason you would do this is when you want to vacuum ash off of your catalyst, which is supposed to be part of annual maintenance. But you might also need to do it more often than that if ash builds up on your catalyst before it's time for annual maintenance. And also removing the catalyst might make it easier to clean your chimney, depending on how you do that. I'm not a professional. I'm your average do-it-yourselfer. Obviously, wood stoves can be dangerous. So if you're going to take it apart, you need to make sure you know how to put it back together, or find someone else who can put it back together into the same condition it was in before you took it apart. The Regency manual talks about how to do this, but in my opinion, it's not clear. So I hope this video will help you get an idea of what you'll be up against if you want to take your stove apart. The very first step that the manual says to do after letting the stove cool down, if you want to take the catalyst out, is to remove this stainless steel baffle plate. I don't know why it says that. It doesn't block access to anything, so I just leave it in. The next thing you would remove is these little metal Z-brackets. As long as the catalyst is pushed in, those just come right out. If you lift up slightly on the baffle, the next thing is to remove this air tube. And the way you do that is with a pair of locking pliers and a hammer. I definitely recommend using a pair of locking pliers. I didn't happen to own one of these the first time I tried to take the stove apart, so I tried to make do with some other tools, but that didn't work. Then once I got a pair of locking pliers, it went pretty easily. Obviously, you have to make sure they're locked nice and tight. I also put a piece of cardboard up here between the pliers, between the tube and the baffle to try to make it less likely that I'm going to damage the baffle while I'm hammering the tube out. To remove the tube, you hammer it this direction from the right to the left. And you do not need to remove the fire bricks to get the tube out. You just it's not real easy to get out. It's usually a little easier than this. There we go. Just pull it out at the right angle. Now you can remove these L-shaped pieces of metal. these fillers that go on the side. Everything's all covered in ash. This baffle up here, I'm not sure how to describe what material this is made of, but it's lighter than I thought it would be from photos of it. I think it's a lot more delicate than I thought it would be. So I'm always real careful to not knock it against the edge of anything while I'm removing it. I've considered buying a spare in case I do accidentally shatter it one of these times. Won't be without a stove until I buy a replacement. Now you can see the catalyst up there now that the baffle's out of the way. Even when the catalyst is disengaged, bypassed, most of the opening to the chimney is still hard to reach. So that's why it might be easier to clean the chimney if you get the catalyst out of the way. I'm also going to not remove entirely, but just remove the second air tube from this side. I'll leave it connected on this side. I'll explain why in a minute. Okay. Next thing you can remove is this little metal clip here. Just comes out. All right, now there's nothing fastening this flame guard in place anymore. That's this piece of metal with the round holes in it. So to remove it, we just need to pull it back toward us, which is a little tricky because if you were to just grab it and pull it, then the catalyst just moves. It might be easier if you have an assistant holding the catalyst engagement rod for you. But the other thing to keep in mind here is that this flame guard is the only thing holding up the catalyst. So when you unhook the flame guard, you don't want the catalyst to just fall, because then it might shatter, because it's ceramic material that's brittle enough that you could probably shatter it easily. So you have to be careful to hold the flame guard up once you get it loose. So see there, when I pulled the flame guard down, there's the catalyst resting on top of it. At this point, the manual said to loosen a couple of bolts in order to get the catalyst out, but as you can see, the catalyst came right out, and I don't know what bolts they're talking about. The catalyst would not have come right out if we had not loosened up this edge of the, or this side of the air tube here, if this air tube were still engaged. then the catalyst would still be stuck up there on top of the air tube. So now with the catalyst out, the opening up into the chimney is wide open, and I'm ready to go take all those parts outside and clean them off. That's what my catalyst looks like after only about half a cord of wood, and it was pretty dry wood, and we don't burn any cardboard, and we only burn paper for tinder in the mornings. So that's why I say you might need to take your catalyst out and clean it more than once a year, depending on how much you use your stove. The manual says you're allowed to use a pipe cleaner. I don't know how often you're supposed to use a pipe cleaner. I don't know if it's likely that I'll scrape off the catalyst by doing this. I say not to use compressed air. So now I'm just going to put all the parts back in the same order they came out. This first step feels like it takes 3 hands. I haven't come up with a clever way to do it yet. The problem is you're trying to lift the catalyst up into position because it slides up into the opening in its holder, while at the same time you're trying to slide the flame guard back into into the shelf that it sits on, while the flame guard is the only thing holding the catalyst up, and you're trying to be gentle so that you don't crack the fragile ceramic catalyst. Let's see if I can do it. Got it. Then there's this little metal thingy that just goes in. If you forget to put that in, you can put it in later, but it's easier to reach if you put it in now. Now the second air tube. Baffle. And then the smaller baffles that go on the sides. And the metal L's that hold the side pieces in position. And the other air tube. And again, I try to put a piece of cardboard or something between the air tube and the baffle while hammering it. And then there's these little Z's. Take the cardboard thing out, of course. And that, I think, is everything. So that is what it looks like to take out the catalyst, baffle, and air tubes in a Regency F1500 wood stove. I hope it helps. Good luck with your stove.